What's happening, guys and girls? Acrinator here, and welcome to another episode of World of Warcraft Dungeon Overview. This episode will be finishing up the Nerubian dungeons by going through Azjol-Nerub. I'll be going through it with my paladin you see here, so with that being said, let's dive straight into it. As you may recall from the previous episode, the Nerubians are a race of insectoid beings that once served the old god Yogg-Saron. After their Dark Master was sealed away, the Nerubians were led by their king Anub'arak into a golden era. They expanded their knowledge of art, architecture, magic, and much more, creating one of the most advanced cultures the world of Azeroth has ever seen. Of course, this is the world of Warcraft we're talking about here, so this time of prosperity could only last so long. As Prince Arthas Menethil came to the icy tundras of Northrend toward the end of the Third War, he laid siege to the Nerubians' empire. The Scourge had a difficult time initially breaking through their defenses, but soon enough the denizens of the Underground Kingdom fell to the undead menace. While a few small pockets of resistance still remain among the Nerubian people, much like the one we're helping in clearing these dungeons, the majority of their people, including the king Anub'arak himself, fell against and rose in service of the Lich King. Unlike Ankahet, Azjol-Nerub is entirely controlled by the Scourge, so if we want to strike a blow against Arthas' subterranean infrastructure, this is our best chance. Azjol-Nerub is a level 69 to 74 dungeon with level 80 heroic mode located in western Dragonblight. Just like Ankahet, Azjol-Nerub is found within the caverns directly south of Icemist Village. You'll know you're in the right place when you come across a giant crater in the ground with Nerubians wandering about. Just head into the crater, take the path on the right heading in a clockwise direction, and head straight toward the meeting stone directly in front of the entrance to Ankahet. The only difference this time is that you'll be turning right at the meeting stone instead of turning left and walking down the slope. At that point you should see some plain Nerubian NPCs standing directly in front of the portal. Krik'thir was the first line of defense for the Nerubian people for hundreds of years before the Scourge attacked their city. He held off the undead tide for as long as he could, allowing for many of his people to escape, though he eventually fell. In retaliation against the Nerubian that gave him so much trouble, Arthas resurrected Krik'thir as an undead guardian for the very gate he fell protecting in the first place. The first thing you want to do before pulling the boss is to kill the 3 packs of mobs standing directly in front of him. You should be able to get them out without pulling Krik'thir, but be careful just in case. Any casters will want to stand further back from the boss, since he casts a curse that slows and damages all players within 5 yards every so often. Also, he'll summon small packs of trash mobs periodically. These don't have much health and can be easily AoE'd down. Just make sure to kill them fast because they will stack and quickly get out of control if ignored. On the day that Azjol-Nerub fell to the Lich King's minions, the remaining Nerubian viziers released a single spider that would one day grow to immense proportions. This beast was fostered with a seething hatred for the undead, and was raised with only one goal in mind: take back the lost city. Directly after walking past the gate where you fought Krik'thir, and going out onto this narrow little bridge, you'll notice Hadronox fighting a horde of undead Nerubians down below. Depending on how patient you are, you can either wait for the boss to kill all the NPCs fighting it, or you can go down and fight them all yourselves. When you actually start the fight with Hadronox, you have to look out for a few distinct abilities. The first one is called Acid Cloud, which is where a pool of poison will be placed underneath a random player's location. For this reason, you should make sure your group is spread out a bit and you should be moving out of the cloud ASAP. The boss also has an ability called Leech Poison, where it damages all players within 25 yards and leeches health. Also, if anyone dies while under this effect, the boss is healed for a whopping 10%. So take my advice and don't die. For the tank and healer, you should look out for an effect called Pierce Armor, which decreases the target's armor by 50% for the entire duration of the fight. The tank is inevitably going to be hit by this, so make sure to use your survival cooldowns once the debuff is off. The healer should also take special care in not letting them die. The last little bit is that the boss will grab all players with strands of web and pull them in. This doesn't do any damage by itself, though it will bring everyone in range of the Leech Poison ability. Just retreat back to a safe distance as fast as you can once this ability is up and you should be fine. What's probably the best approach for this fight is to pop all your cooldowns at the very beginning and take the boss down as quickly as possible. The faster this spider dies, the less chance it has to heal itself from your suffering. Anub'arak was once the king of the Nerubian Empire. He stood on the precipice of success and innovation for countless decades, only to have everything ripped from him in a matter of days. Once beloved by his people for his strength as a leader, his corpse now roams in infamy as a result of how useful of a pawn he's been to Arthas. Anub'arak has contributed more than anyone else in the downfall of his people. In order to put the final nail in the coffin of this dark era for the Nerubians, and to honor the memory of what their defiled king once was, we must put an end to this mockery of a husk. Husk. This fight is actually pretty complex on paper, though it boils down to being pretty simple in practice, so don't get overwhelmed by everything I'm about to tell you. The first thing to look out for is when Anub'arak begins to cast Pound. This will damage and stun all players in a cone in front of the boss, so be sure to move to the side for that. What's more is that the boss will cast Carrion Beetles, summoning 2 trash mobs every second for 4 seconds. These don't have much to them and should be AoE'd down quickly to avoid too much stacking. Each time Anub'arak takes 25% damage to his health, he'll submerge underground and attempt to impale a random player through the ground. This is easy enough to avoid, as you should see the little animation happening underneath you. Just don't stack and pay attention and you should be fine. Also, when the boss submerges, more trash mobs will jump into the ring to aid their king. Just take out the ads and Anub'arak will re-emerge to fight yet again. And once you have all that down, the fight is pretty much just a rinse and repeat for an easy victory. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this episode, and if you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like it, maybe even subscribe. Links to my social media and whatnot are in the description below. And as for the comment question, do you think we'll ever team up with the Nerubians in the future? Canonically speaking, we've helped them reclaim much of their lost city and dealt with most of the threats they faced, as well as the fact that they no longer serve the old gods. I think it's possible, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they just want to keep to themselves while they rebuild. Anyways, that's all the time I've got for today, so until next time, don't die.